wasn't only here. There were protests in other
Ladies and
cities
gentlemen, this
as
is your boy
well. In
CJ
Los
Robinson
Angeles,
Jr.
pro and anti-Trump
This is
demonstrators
ridiculous.
slugged it out in front of City Hall. Other demonstrators broke through the gate at
Look
the
at
governor's
this.
mansion in Olympia, Washington, but state troopers kept them out. For a look at how the violence might have been prevented, we are joined now by CBS News senior national security analyst Fran Townsend. She was Homeland Security Advisor to President George W. Bush. Fran, good morning to you. Sometimes the simple questions are the best ones. How did this happen?
You know, Tony, good morning. It's incomprehensible to me because this was not an intelligence failure. This was well known weeks ago when I was in
think about it,
Washington.
ladies and
Sources
gentlemen.
already
There's only
warned
white people
the
involved in
president
this
had
shit.
been tweeting for weeks, encouraging people to come to D.C.
I'm not trying to be biased or racist.
Look,
I don't
he's
see
been tweeting with
a
the
bit of
hashtag
black
Stop the
people
Steal.
in this crowd.
So
I could be wrong.
himself personally encouraged
I could be
and
wrong.
fueled this thing. And law enforcement knew or should have known and prepared for this to be coming.
A former Capitol Police chief has said that the current chief deserves to lose his job over this. Do you think that should be in the cards? And what else needs to happen to address everything?
100%. And I think, look, I think if I was a member of Congress, the Senate, and the House, there ought to be a comprehensive investigation about the multiple layers of failure here. The D.C. mayor asked for the National Guard, didn't want them armed, didn't want them to have any authority, really, and was concerned about their presence in uniform. I mean, this is a lack of coordination, preparation at multiple levels, and I do think they need to do a quick lessons learned. We have the inauguration coming. The purpose of this violent riot was disruption of the democratic political process, and we want to ensure that that doesn't happen again on Inauguration Day. And so there needs to be a very quick assessment of the failures and a filling of those gaps.
Fred, I want to talk to you about the lack of apparent arrest. What did you think? We saw these people, and I don't like calling them protesters. We saw these rioters, this angry mob, swinging at police officers, threatening police officers, pushing police officers, then sashay out of the Capitol, high-fiving each other, congratulating each other, waving their Trump flags, and there were no
sad, yo.
arrests that we could see.
It's sad.
What was your reaction to
This
that?
is in Washington, D.C. I was partially raised out here in D.C., out there in D.C.
This broke my heart.
This is fucking crazy.
We ought to be ashamed. Frankly, if these rioters, first, there's federal criminal statutes that they violated, so there was a clear basis on their conduct and the law to arrest them. And let's be perfectly candid. If these rioters had committed criminal acts and they were black or they were Muslim, they absolutely would have been arrested. And so we ought to be ashamed of yesterday's display of law enforcement in addition to the rioters.
I also think the death toll would have been a whole lot higher. You know, we see the Black Lives Matter protests. Those guys, the officers were lined up in military uniforms with camouflage, very menacing, standing very menacing on the steps.
For the Black Lives Matter.
For the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah, it was shocking to see the difference.
No, and they seemed much better prepared for the Black Lives Matter than they did yesterday.
Yeah.
Fred, you mentioned the inauguration, which is just 13 days away. We have the president still in the White House, although he says he's now prepared for the exchange of power. He's still tweeting that the election was stolen from him. Are you concerned about the risk for violence in the next days, even leading up to the inauguration? And what about the inauguration itself?
Well, Anthony, the inauguration is a national security event, right? And that takes certain coordination and interagency preparation in and of itself. The inauguration is a well-fueled and well-prepared for event. But I am worried about attempts at disruption and violence in the days leading up and on Inauguration Day. Let's remember, you know, I think back in terms of the transition from Bush to Obama, and we worried about the walk that President Obama and Michelle, the First Lady, were going to make down Pennsylvania Avenue. I worry about that. I think we have to take additional precautionary measures. I think there needs to be an assessment about how we can beef up the security for the inauguration, given what happened yesterday.
Fran, there is nearly bipartisan agreement that the president's words addressing the riot yesterday have so far been insufficient to quell the potential for future unrest. What words would you like to see him speak to the American people today as soon as possible?
I think the president ought to make a national address. I think he needs to condemn yesterday's violence. I think he needs to distance himself and deny.
Sad world
that
we
he was
live
a
in,
supporter of
folks.
I mean, yesterday he said, "We love you and we understand. I understand how you feel." I mean, that's not only wholly inadequate, but it's encouraging of these people. And so I think he needs to make a definitive address to the nation, distancing himself, condemning the violence, and insisting that this type of thing not happen again, and certainly not on his behalf.
Yeah, and resist the temptation to continue to spread misinformation about sweeping election fraud that simply did not happen. Fran Townsend, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I honestly don't know what to say. This is tragic. This is crazy. And to be fairly honest with you, I want you guys to let me know what y'all think about this rioting in Washington, D.C. and how these rioters just decided to break into the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol. Drop your comments below, like, share, hit the notification bell button. Hopefully y'all heard the first video that I uploaded. I have forgot to take my headphones out. If not, just bypass it. I'll delete it later. But guys, please let me know what y'all think about this bullshit. I don't see a bit of black people in this crowd, man, but I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? This is not a racist thing. This is more like a rioting thing. All because nobody wants Trump to remain in the White House or whatnot. So let me know what y'all think, man. This your boy CJ. I'm out.